Joining me today is UFC lightweight contender Beneil Dariush. Thank you, Beneil, for the time today. How are you doing?
Good, and yourself?
Good, man. Perfect, man. Perfect. Let's get into it right away, man. You're on one of the most exciting runs we have seen in recent memory in this division. A lot of the guys, seemingly they're kind of avoiding you at the top. You know what I mean? Building a legacy on merit. How important is that for you?
It's important, It's I think it's important in a way. It's very different than the current culture. So I like the idea of being anti-culture. So I like it a lot.
But do you enjoy as a spectator some of the back and forth that happens between these fighters?
Sometimes, like once in a while, they'll say something funny to each other, and I'll be like, okay, that was actually kind of funny. But majority of the time, it's not that funny. Like it's just repetitive. And if you look at some of the older stuff with, let's say, boxers, and it's just a lot of it has already been said. They're just repeating.
It's cringe. A lot of it's cringe to you.
A lot of it is cringe. Yeah, a lot of it.
And you have created this phenomenal highlight reel. Is there any finish out there that you can watch over and over, even you're impressed by it?
Honestly, maybe the Drakkar fight, because a lot of emotion behind that fight, and then I was also I was pretty injured, so the game plan was just to take him down over and over and over and hold him, and then hopefully get a submission, but it worked out a little different.
Yeah, and I believe that was one of the last cards with the crowd, and now you're entering your next fight with the crowd. How excited is that?
Yeah, it's wild, man, to think it's been so long. It's been over a year since we've had crowds. I mean, I enjoyed not having crowds. It was pretty fun, but I guess I'm looking forward to this as well.
Do you feed off that crowd? Do you get energy from that crowd inside the fight?
I never thought I did, but until the Drakkar fight, so maybe I do. I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see on the 15th, because I always felt like I'm a calm person, and I like to fight calm, but lately I can't say that anymore. Looking at my fights, I look like I'm a few screws loose.
Speaking of a few screws loose, your upcoming opponent, Ferguson, he also seems to be a guy that feeds off the crowd too, which makes this matchup even more exciting.
Yeah. I think Tony's a wild man, and I like that. It's only going to make this more fun.
All right. Before we head into more about the fight, I wanted to talk about early 2018. After the Alex Hernandez fight, you went on this incredible run. Besides being healthier, what has clicked for you, man? What are the changes you've made?
People keep asking me this, but it's really just that's been one thing. It's been trusting God that through the difficulties there was something coming, and I didn't know what it was. I didn't even know it was going to continue to be in fighting, but something good was coming, and I just try to stay faithful and patient. And now we're here. I really believe I was training so hard, and I was doing the best that I could to reach my goals, and I wasn't. So I at that point I didn't know what else to do but just be faithful.
And that's faith, man, because you just turned into this wrecking ball in front of our eyes. I feel like a lot of people didn't expect that to happen.
Yeah, me neither. Well, I'd be one of those people, to be honest with you.
All right, let's get into this co-main event slot at UFC 262.
Am I co-main event? I don't know if I'm co-main event, bro.
Oh, yeah, you're not co-main event. I'm sorry. You were co-main event, and then they announced.
I guess I was. But with Diaz and Edwards in there, and then Charles and Chandler, I don't even know which one's the main event. That's the real question.
Yeah, it is confusing right now, right? There's nothing certain.
Because they're both 5-round fights.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter. You're going to be up there in that on the main card, on the pay-per-view, and you're taking on a former champ, a guy that is very smart, in his matchmaking. If you look at his resume, how happy were you that, you got him on the contract because of that reason?
I was super stoked. I figured, Tony's going to pick whoever Tony wants. Tony's accomplished so much in our division, and he can pick whoever he wants to fight, and I'm just glad I got the call.
Your 20th fight in the UFC is coming up, man.
A lot
most
of
guys don't
fights.
even get 20 fights in their career.
Yeah, that's weird to think about. 20 fights in the UFC, and when I came into the UFC, I had 6 fights. So imagine, imagine going from that to 20 fights. Jeez.
There's a lot of hype heading into this stylistic masterpiece, people like to call it, and what excites you about facing a competitor like Ferguson?
He's just, you never know what he's gonna do. If that's not exciting to you, I don't know what is. I mean, you prepare the best you can, but you do not know what he's gonna do. You just don't. And I'm going in there with like, okay, that's fine. I don't know what he's gonna do. It makes actually training for him really difficult too, because what am I gonna drill? What am I gonna focus on? But I'm kind of enjoying this. It's a freedom I haven't felt in a while.
It allows you to allows you to have that training and that experience take over when you actually step into the octagon, I believe.
Yeah, and for Tony, my training might not um might not flow over as well because you don't really know how to train for him. But it might also work out better because I've been so free to train the way I want. Maybe it'll be better that way. So it's we won't know till the day of the fight. So I'm looking forward to figuring out.
Do you think the perception of Ferguson is clouded somewhat due to his last two performances?
I think by the general public, yes. But for me, I try to look at his best fights where he was at his sharpest, and I want to go after that Tony. That's the Tony I'm trying to beat. Tony that's hard to take down. The Tony that doesn't get tired. The Tony that can take a punch and is willing to take two to give one, and eventually he takes over. So I'm preparing for the wild man.
He loves to spin a lot. You've known to do a little spinning yourself.
I don't actually spin much. Maybe like before that fight, I may have done one spinning move in another fight. I can't think of me spinning that much. But now I'm thinking like if he spins, I'm gonna spin twice. I don't know. I haven't even thought about it, to be honest with you. I gotta figure it out.
Yeah, that would be a sight to see. Both of you guys spin at the same time and
Yeah.
just chaos. It's gonna be fun. Now with Tony, he fought RDA a few years back. Have you been working with RDA to prepare for this fight? Have you talked to him?
No, Hoffa is actually he's injured. I last time I spoke with him, he was having some issues. So I haven't actually got to train with him. But when they fought, I felt like that was the best Tony I've seen. So that's a fight I've been watching a lot because I think that's the best version of Tony I've seen, and I want to prepare for that Tony.
Did you help Hoffa prepare for Tony back then? Did you guys
I
train
fought
together?
on the same card.
Okay,
So
okay.
I fought a guy named Rashid Magomedov, who was at that time undefeated in the UFC, and we trained together. We trained very hard together, but it wasn't like I got to help him specifically for Tony. I didn't get to corner him and things like that. So there was, I still believe Hoffa could have won that fight to this day, but that's not the point right now.
What are you guys drinking? You and Hoffa, because he's on the resurgence too in the lightweight division.
Well, again, I'm telling you, man, he's a guy, he's a man of faith, just as I am, and I think that has a lot to do with it. And you got to understand, it's not always going to be up. You're not always going to be going up. Sometimes you got to fall down. So you got to fall down, and you got to know what the fall feels like, what the dirt tastes like, so you can get up and enjoy everything up at the top.
Definitely. Now, fans, they're gonna expect all-out chaos. How do you see yourself taking out Ferguson?
I've been joking about this, but I'll tell you the same thing I told everybody else. The goal is to out crazy Tony. So let's see how that goes.
All right, I'm looking forward to that, man. That's
Yeah.
gonna be wonderful. Now, in the main event, you got Chandler versus Oliveira for the vacant lightweight title. Was that the fight to make in your eyes for that belt?
No, I didn't think so. I thought it should have been Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje, but Dustin wants Connor, and I don't know who else I guess the reason why they did it is because neither one of those guys have lost to Khabib. That's one of the strong reasons behind it. I was like, okay, I guess it makes sense. I'm not saying Chandler doesn't have the credentials to fight for the belt, but I think he should have fought a little bit more in the UFC. But it's not my call, and I don't really care.
If one of those guys falls out, you're the guy that will fill in because the placement of you on the card. Does that sit in the back of your head?
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. It's more likely they call me
Mm-hmm.
because I'm on a win streak and Tony's coming off losses. So it's definitely something in my mind, but I'm just going to prepare for Tony. If you can prepare for Tony, you're pretty much prepared for everybody. You know what I mean? The guy kicks, he jumps, he rolls, he shoots, he guard, whatever. So if you prepare for Tony, you're basically good to go for everybody else. And that's the thing. Like, I've been just preparing for Tony, and I've been preparing for 5 rounds. That's the only thing in my mind. But I did think about that too, and but I don't, I don't want anyone to get hurt or ill or injured or something like that. So it's I don't overthink it.
Definitely. Now with Khabib retiring on top, do you think there's a cloud over the lightweight title?
Yes, of course. I mean, people are always going to be like, "Oh, this guy's the champ," but Khabib, remember Khabib, and it's always going to be like that, and that's fine, But I will say too, this sport is forgetful. The fans are very forgetful. So who knows? In like a year or two, be like, yeah, like we were talking about GSP being the greatest of all time, and now all of a sudden, well, you got this guy and this guy and this guy. Back in the day, we used to say Fedor was the GOAT, and there were some other guys, and we don't even mention them anymore. I mean, even Demetrius Johnson, who, in my opinion, should be considered one of the best of all time. We don't even mention him anymore. So that's another thing. This sport is very forgetful. So, or the fans are, anyways.
So you believe like time will eventually, allow another champion to just be the target, the focus of the division?
I think so. Eventually, it might take some time just because of Habib's dominance, but I think so. And you never know, man. Habib might just say, you know what, I've had enough of a break. I think it's time for me to come back. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I think for the next 10 to 15 years, people are going to be like, oh, Habib's going to come back. Like what they've been doing with GSP, even though he's retired.
Yeah. I mean, GSP said, I'm not retiring. I need a break. I was like, all right. So that's why I think but Habib's like, no, I'm retired. Don't ask me anymore. So I don't know. We'll see. It's fun to think about.
All right. One last thing before I let you go. Right now in America and, parts of the world, there are a lot of attacks on Asians. And Victoria, your better half, is Asian descent. How big of a concern is that for you on a daily basis?
Fortunately for us, where we live, there's not a whole lot of that. But it's where my sister-in-law lives. In up north, there is a lot of it up Northern California, and we do worry about that. We and there's no rhyme or reason behind it. So just why? I mean, it's really frustrating. It's really frustrating to see it. And another thing is too, this has been going on for a while. I don't think people know this, but this has been going on for a while, and it didn't really get any attention for the longest time, and all of a sudden now it's getting attention. So I don't understand what the reason behind all of this is, but I guess I'm kind of glad they're putting a spotlight on it. Hopefully it stops.
And it's to the elderly mostly, which is very disturbing.
I mean, the people doing the attacking, they're cowards. They're not honorable people. They're not people who are trying to prove a point or because they're going after people who can't defend themselves. They're not going after people who can actually do something. I wish I knew why they're doing it. I wish sometimes I could be there before something like this happens too.
Yeah, I wish there was someone like you everywhere. Just on the street corner. Like, hey, chill out.
Calm
Stop
down.
it. Yeah, for sure. Anyways, May 15th, man, UFC 262, huge opportunity on a pay-per-view versus Tony Ferguson, man. It's insane. Thank you so much, Beneil.
Yeah, thanks, brother. It's gonna be something. It's gonna be wild. I'm looking forward to it, and can't wait.
Take a move in the ring.